Welcome to Easy Peasy Books, From Author to Authority, the lively and engaging podcast for business professionals who've always believed they have a book in them. I'm your host, Jillian Whitney. Join me as I chat with authors and industry experts from all around the world to explore simple strategies to write, publish, and leverage your business book. Whether you're an entrepreneur, executive, or an employee, this podcast is for you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Easy Peasy Books podcast. And today I have a special treat because I have a LinkedIn colleague, LinkedIn friend, and actually one of my clients who is about to launch her new book, and it's very exciting. I think this has to be the first time I have done somebody pre-launch of their book. So, hey, always experimenting. So I have Debbie Wemyss here today. And before we get stuck in, Debbie, can you please introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what you do, and then we'll start chatting.
Sure. Thanks, Jillian. So my name is Debbie Wemyss. That's a Scottish last name that nobody can say, pronounce, or remember. So I have it phonetically everywhere. And I have been for almost 15 years now immersed in LinkedIn. Anything to do with showing people how to use it more effectively, branding and marketing. We help everybody. You know, most people have profiles. We help them come up to speed with all the latest changes. Prior, I had a 23-year career in nonprofit work, and I'm from New England originally. I've been in Florida for over 40 years, and we love what we do. You know, I think the world about networking, and what better place to do it than LinkedIn?
Awesome. Awesome. So, Debbie, what's exciting is you are on the cusp, the very verge of being a first-time author, which is always so exciting. So Debbie's book is in pre-order state. It's up on Amazon, ready to go. March 27th is the book launch day, 2026, just in case this is being heard afterwards. And this is always such an exciting time because it's a marathon. Nobody writes a book in a sprint. It's a marathon. There's lots of steps, but that moment it's up on Amazon, it's real. Debbie's got proof, the author's proof in hand. So she's got, the tangible book. And so it's very, very exciting. So Debbie, can you please tell us what is the title of your book? What is the title of your book?
It's called Networking from the Ground Up, Planting Seeds in a Digital Landscape.
I love it. I love the title, and it's so you with the planting the seeds, and I want to talk about that in a sec. Actually, no, I want to talk about that now. What does that mean, planting seeds? Because we always kind of think of almost like networking, like predatory, like you're the hunter, you're the hunter, and you're gathering people. But planting seeds, it's very. I know you're into your plants and your patio. So it all kind of goes together. So what does that mean, Debbie?
So to me, it means that you are going to accept the fact that it takes time to build authentic relationships. And what I've seen over and over is, especially on LinkedIn, where you can get right in front of your target, no matter who they are, where they are, what they do. And far too often, we're still seeing people kind of jump at the throat, pitching out of the gate, call it what you'd like. They know that the person in front of them can absolutely use their product or service, but they're rushing it. They're forgetting that little piece in between where you need to let that person know who you are. And you need to find out if they even care about your product or service, even though you think they're a viable prospect. And that to me has always been the toughest part of really learning how to network properly and engage and build a relationship prior to a sale. I think that's been the most challenging part for most salespeople. They're really good at sales in terms of, they meet their quotas, or they can go right to the top of the ranks for sales amounts or whatever. The point is, you can't rush it. And if you do, you're probably going to lose out on that person and start over. Why do that when if you do it properly and you take time, you let the person get to know you, you get to know them. It's more than just a business transaction. You're building a viable relationship slash friendship that is going to be long lasting. That person is going to come back over and over because they trust you, they like you, and they've worked with you before. So it's worth every minute, and sometimes it's aggravating because it does take a long time sometimes. But you have to just be persistent in a professional way. And planting seeds means you are starting what's going to bloom into a relationship. And I have lots of analogies. Outside that sliding glass door is about 65 plants. There's 4 trees out there that I started from seed. While you talk about building patience, try growing a Hass avocado tree.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I like that your plants and especially the flowers and the trees that it's I love that word bloom because that's where something kind of comes to fruition that it's like it looks good but now it's almost got takes a life of its own. So that's actually an awesome metaphor. So I love that. I love that. So here's my question. So lots of authors are listening to us. Whether they're prospective authors or they've already written a book, doesn't matter. The thing is that authors, we're taking all these ideas out of our head. We're putting our thoughts, our experiences, whatever, into a book. And then we think we're done. It's like, okay, people, I'll just stick it up on Amazon and people are going to buy my book, right? Maybe if, I'll have the courage to like go do some speaking to help promote my book. But networking, that's a whole different thing. So, there's in-person networking, there's virtual networking. Can you kind of give us networking is not the same as speaking. So can you kind of give us the sort of networking 101, Debbie?
Sure. Because I'm out there 2 or 3 times a week at various gatherings. I've just done it for years and I love it. There are people that are absolutely terrified to walk into a group of strangers and yeah, and try to come out with more than just business cards. Nowadays everything is digital, which is fine. The point is networking 101, it's not about you. So when you find a gathering, and I love chambers of commerce, I'm a huge advocate, especially because they have events for non-members too. And it's a great place to go kind of feel out the type of people that they might have in their membership. Professional organizations are abundant, especially professional women and professional men. Just There's just no limit to the number of organizations that have monthly meetings, whether it's a coffee meeting in the morning, a luncheon, a happy hour, my favorite. Um, but there's a lot of opportunities. You just have to look for them. And I start online and I go to the chamber's events and I put my monthly schedule together based on, I rotate my memberships every couple of years. So I look at events. I seek out other people I know that host events professionally, and I come up with a monthly calendar of the networking I'm going to do. And wherever we are, that's going to go into my monthly calendar. And I'm talking about my monthly newsletter. So when you go into an event, your mindset, I think, should be this is going to be great. I'm going to enjoy this and I'm not going to make it about me. When I go up to somebody at an event, I have a name tag on. It says, whatever it says now. It's been at least
Hello, hello.
it says Debbie Weems, founder, DW Consulting Solutions. Well, right there, it's a talking point. People say, "Oh, what's DW Consulting thing?" We're off on a very light conversation, very brief. I say, oh, I've been a specialist on it. I don't say expert. I haven't gotten to that point yet after 15 years. Imagine that. But I don't wanna scare them, you know, and I just say, I love LinkedIn, the platform's great for branding and marketing, and I started a business several years ago to teach people in corporate teams how to do better at branding and marketing on LinkedIn. What do you do? You know, immediately, I'm turning it back over to them. I wanna show interest in the person in front of me, particularly if they're a total stranger, because here's the secret. People love to talk about themselves. They really do. And all you have to do to get them started is show an interest in not only what they do now, but I'd love to say, oh, that's really fascinating or that's really interesting. And I'm sincere about it. And I'll say, what got you started in that? You know, and if I find out, and this is just the way I roll, I find out their background. If they've been in an industry for 20 years, then I really wanna know because if they're first I assume, and I ask, "You must be passionate about what you do if you've been in it for that long. What got you started?" And again, they will just start talking, and I get the most interesting backstories. And that type of an introduction of me to a stranger, they're gonna remember me. They're gonna remember that I did not talk their ear off about LinkedIn. I don't need to, everything's on my profile.
I
And
love
of
it.
course, that's the next step, of course, after any event. Even the luncheon I went to last week for International Women's, um, Day, week, month, call it what you will. I was making notes on everybody I met, just on my phone real quick, write their name down, on a page of notes. And I have connected with about 14 people from that luncheon that I didn't know before I walked in, and I was the moderator, so it was really fun, and you get mileage out of posts like that. I'm kinda going off on a tangent, so I'll stop there.
I love that, and but you know what? I think that's the brilliant part of first of all, there's a lot to unpack there. First of all, I love the fact that you talk about asking questions because I think that we feel me with my hand raised that says I hate going to networking events is because I feel I have to have all these things memorized in my head and pitch my business and yada yada yada. And when in fact, if I go and I just learn about those people and even maybe hold off and not, just tell them what I do, but not say, you got to write a book, you got to do this, you got to do that. They're going to just back away from me. But if I ask them questions, then I show I'm interested. I calm them down that I'm not going to try and like steal their pocketbook and take their, credit cards right then and there 'cause I think that people are just kind of we're hesitant, but if you show a genuine interest and I remember my mother always used to say, "You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You're supposed to listen more than you talk." So I love that, but also too, I love that you're taking notes because it's just like brilliant, Debbie, because it's like, especially I used to try and write things on the back of people's business cards, but now that nobody gives you a business card, you gotta pull
Exactly.
out that phone, so that's a great ninja tip, I love that.
The bottom line, really, the people you meet aren't always gonna turn into clients, but my favorite saying, and I know I say it at least once or twice in my book, you never know who's connected to who. And how many times have I been introduced by someone who's not a client, but they know me, they've looked into my background, my expertise, whatever. How many times have I been introduced to total strangers by someone I didn't work with? They're not a client, they're a networking buddy, or somebody I met through a conference or meeting or whatever. But they trust me enough to introduce their friend to me, for possible coaching. I love it. I mean, people are people, if they don't need my service or they don't want it at this time, maybe they will in the future. But in the meantime, they really trust me enough to introduce me to their colleagues, and it goes on from there.
I love that, I love that, and I also wanna follow up on I like the idea that you post pictures because it's like, if anybody goes to Debbie's profile, and I suggest everybody go to Debbie's profile, follow her, she's awesome. But if you go to Debbie's profile and you look at her images, because we can go on LinkedIn and see videos and this and that and everything else, but you can look at graphics, the images. And Debbie's always got somebody in the picture and just like selfie with these people. And you're like out and about. You're like a little social butterfly floating all over with your little hello, my name is Debbie, name tag on. But I love that because it actually, people love it. You can tag them, right? You could actually tag those people in. People love it. It's exciting. It makes you look like Debbie's a cool person. I want to get to know her. She's always out talking to people, so that's good. And you talked about chamber events. That's awesome to check out your local chamber. But you also meet people like in the book, you talk about meeting people on airplanes and in line at the post office. Like you never let go of a out and about opportunity, Debbie.
Yeah, it's probably annoying to some people. No, I'm really careful. I'm pretty good gauge of when I look at somebody, I can usually tell if they're going to be friendly enough. Just it happened again in the post office yesterday. I'm not kidding. Because we had the longest darn wait. They only had 2 people at the counter. It was the end of the day, and I was just there to pick up 2 things. Guess what one of them was, Jillian? It's back there. Your new book.
Oh, wonderful.
Just came in yesterday, but, it was a long wait just to be picking up a couple of things, and I could tell the lady behind me was just so annoyed, because the 2 people at the counter, they had tons of boxes and stuff to mail, so we were there for a while. But the guy on my left was just kinda, just cool and laid back, and I just said, I said, "We picked the right time of the day, didn't we?" And he just laughed, and we just started a conversation, you know? I didn't have my name tag on that time, end of the day, but, it's just you just have to be friendly, and boy, in this current environment, everything's changed, so much has changed with the way people interact. There's a lot of trust that's been thrown out the window for lots of reasons, so you don't want to annoy anybody. You don't want to come off as pushy or anything. So I don't do it all the time, but I've been at that post office, I think 22 years or so or more. I go to 2 different public supermarkets and I've been going to both of those for more than 20 years. So I tend to get to know the cashiers, the bag boys, and they say hi to me before I say hi to them sometimes. It's just be kind. Honest
Mm,
to God, it's so easy, and you just never know that other saying. You never know what somebody else is dealing with, I know, but
that's
if
true.
you are just kind, just say hello. Um, it's amazing what can come out of such a small action.
I love it. I love it. And it's funny. One of the examples you talk about in the book is being on airplanes and talking to people on airplanes. And I'm of course, you're an extrovert. I'm an introvert. I get on an airplane. Book is out in seconds with my nose in the book and don't talk to me. That's what I do on airplanes. Which now, when I read your book, I was just like, I've been missing a golden opportunity here. And what I love is that even sometimes you can be talking with somebody on an airplane, there can be unintended um, opportunities by other people who you think aren't even listening. And so, would you mind sharing that little story?
Oh goodness, yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Well, we
Uh
can hold it for the book if you wanna hold it for the book.
Oh, I have lots of favorites in that book. It was so fun, frankly, to work with you. I get so organized. You're genius at that. Uh, when you told me to go back and research all the different times I ran into people or networked, and those people came back into my life years later, I was like, okay, where am I gonna start? And it was once I got into it, it was just so fun, and I kept remembering more things, but this little, exchange on a flight back from, Dallas to West Palm, is gonna stay with me forever, um, because I'm always looking to chat it up with people if they want to, and you're absolutely right, I totally avoid people that open a book and, they got the ear things in and all that. I'm like, "Okay, I'll leave you alone." So, I'm in a middle seat and the gal next to me on the left is just she's just flipping through her phone, she's scrolling. Gentleman on my right, and it was an evening flight. We didn't get to West Palm until midnight, so I think we left at,
Mm.
like, 8:30 or so. He was dressed in a suit, and he whipped out his laptop, and he's on a bunch of spreadsheets, so I thought, "Okay, he's working." Um, so eventually, I struck up a conversation with the girl next to me. Well, guess what? She was an event planner. Bingo. That's one of my targets, to work at more conferences doing what we do. And we chatted, and it turned out she lives about 15 minutes from me. She was coming back from a conference, and we chatted, and she was super friendly, and I was the same going back to her. And I thought, well, this is going to be a great prospect. So we actually chatted the whole flight. She had just as much to say to me, which was fun. I just learned about her background. I asked questions. And before we knew it, we were landing. Well, occasionally I glance over at the businessman next to me because he would be on a game that reminded me of Pac-Man. Okay, now I'm dating myself. But it was a game, and I had never seen it. And I was kind of like, "Oh, that looks interesting." But I didn't say a word. It was just because he was taking brain breaks, I could tell. He would go on the game, and then he'd go back to his spreadsheets. So I thought, "Well, this is interesting," and I was happy with who I met. Uh, Time came to get up. We were at the gate and ready to deplane, and he stood up to get his overhead stuff, and I'm in the middle, so I'm waiting, and he got his stuff down, and I said, "So you're one of those executives that likes to work every single minute." And he laughed and he goes, "Well," he goes, "I kind of heard you talking about LinkedIn. So what is it that you do?" Okay, well, we had to stand there and wait. We're not in the all way back, but we had to wait, for people to get off. So in that span of time, I very quickly gave him my 2 minute. This is what I do, and he said, "Oh," he goes, "That's really interesting." He said, "Give me your card. I think I want to put you together with my event planner." I said, "Okay." And sure enough, he did. And it was really funny because nothing came of the relationship I started with the gal on my left, but with him, he introduced me to his event planner. We had a Zoom. They had an annual meeting 3 months away, so we all agreed it's too soon to try to put me into that meeting. But she said, "You know what? Our board's working on something. Let me call you back in about 6 months." And you know how that goes. And I thought,
Right.
"Okay." So I put her in my file for 6 months. And right before we hit 6 months, this woman called me and she said, "Let's have a Zoom. I want to tell you about what the board." Anyway, they came up with this wonderful retreat for young professionals in their industry. They wanted me to talk about LinkedIn. So I ended up getting a speaking, not LinkedIn reviews, but I did mix that in, what we normally do at conferences. But that turned into a paid opportunity from literally a 5 minute conversation on the plane, exiting the plane after a 3 hour flight.
I love that. That's such a brilliant story. It's a brilliant story because if you think about it, talking to the other passenger, she was literally the connector of the guy that she didn't know that was sitting on the other side of you. And if you hadn't had that conversation, then it's like he needed to just hear it in bits and pieces. If you had sat and talked to him the whole time, it might not have gone anywhere. And the fact that he asked for your card, not you doing the pitch and the this and the that and everything, it's just such a perfect story, and what I take away from this, Debbie, is, like, Jillian, keep the book away unless you don't like the people beside you. Save the book to ward off people you don't wanna talk with, but maybe sit at the back of the plane and maybe choose the middle seat because you just never know where that's gonna go. So that's a brilliant story, Debbie. I love that story. I love it so
Yeah.
much. So, can I ask a question? So, as an introvert, say I'm going to a networking meeting next week, or maybe I'm going to a conference, or I'm going to be maybe I could be in a trade show and I'm going to bick up, have a booth or whatever. And if I'm sitting there feeling sick to my stomach, that it's like, oh my gosh, the networking part, give me a tip. I like the asking questions, but maybe give me a mental tip. What can I be doing to get over myself?
Recognize that every person at that event is there for a reason. And anyone that walks into the what I call the trade show part, where all the vendors are set up, they're there for a reason. They want to see who's there, who's displaying this, that, and the other thing. When people come around to us, well, it's a different setup for us, but let me put myself in your place. So if I was a typical vendor or service provider waiting for, people to stop by and see what we have, uh, I just love to ask people, not on the first day, but after that first day of the event, I always say, how's the conference going for you? And, they usually give me some kind of answer. Sometimes it's real short. And I'll say, well, I hope you're meeting some great people, harmless, interested. And I'm going to get it. I'm going to be able to start gauging this person with his answers or her answers. So I'm interested to know how the experience is going for them. And then depending on how they answer me, I might say, we're just really grateful to be here. This is our 15th conference with the MBA, and that usually sparks them because it's a lot. We have a great relationship with the Mortgage Bankers Association, and I am forever grateful for what they've done for our reputation because now we run into people all the time at our events with them. They already know us. They've already worked with us, and it's really fun. But again, you just in your mind, you're not looking at people that stop to talk to you as money.
Okay.
Just don't look at them as money or a prospect. Look at them as another human being out to see what's in this room full of sometimes hundreds of vendors and respect their time
Mm.
because they don't have a lot. And, pretty quickly, I mean, people will just walk right by, different booths because it's like, oh, no, that's not what I'm looking for. Um, and just have fun with it.
I love that. I love that. And so we're kind of coming to the end of our time together, Debbie. Is there any kind of like final takeaways? I know we're going to tell everybody, we're going to just say go get Debbie's book. It's a great book. I've read it. I'm one of well, you actually had a few advanced readers, which is also a wonderful thing to have when you are launching a book, is to
Yeah,
have
for
people
poetry, yeah.
who have, proofread it, who've given you reader feedback all the way through the process. Debbie's book is great. Please pre-order on Amazon now. So, and if this is after the launch, just go get this book because it's really good to help you with networking, especially if you're an introvert like me and you dread it. It's like I picked up a lot of great tips. So, Debbie, is there any sort of final words of wisdom you'd like to leave with everybody today?
Yes, I think that you can't start early enough with learning how to be comfortable with networking. I just got hired to do a 1 hour presentation to, it's going to end up being a couple of hundred virtual high school students. And I just love that because, this is a particular group that really doesn't know a whole lot about LinkedIn, but now that they're job seeking, it's the first thing recruiters are asking for. "Give me a link to your profile or send me your profile," and they're like, "Hmm." So they really need me. But the other tip for anybody else is, as you grow your network over the years, you may not stay in the same job for your entire career. And that network is gonna be there to help you out when you go through any kind of transition. So, always thinking ahead, build that network. It's just something you never stop doing. Um, yeah, I wish I had more hours in the day to network.
And you're so good at it. You're just like Debbie the little butterfly, Debbie the bee, just going from flower to flower. I just love it. And I like that you say never stop because even, I know there's a lot of people that get on LinkedIn, they want to find a job, they find the job, and then they stop being on LinkedIn. And
Mhm.
then maybe 3 years later, there's like a restructuring at your company, and now you've like let everybody, all those contacts, they've forgotten you. So it's like you have to think of it like Debbie's garden, that it's like just because the plants bloom, it doesn't mean you stop watering them. You have to continue to nurture them and take care of them, even when they're at their fullest, because otherwise they die, right?
One of my priorities when I get ready for a trip, Jillian, besides packing, who's gonna take care of my plants for 2 weeks? Because I don't want them to die. And I have a wonderful neighbor that comes over and dutifully waters my plants while I'm gone.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. No, that's very smart, and we should have the same mindset with our connections on LinkedIn and off LinkedIn, and, again, looking for those connectors, because you just never know. Not everybody's your ideal reader, your ideal customer, but they could be, like that lady on the plane, the catalyst that makes the other opportunities happen. So that's what I think we have to be aware of. So this has been a brilliant chat. So thank you very much, Debbie, for being here today. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in today, and we appreciate you listening or watching wherever you are. And we'll be back next week with another Easy Peasy Books podcast. Okay, bye, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Easy Peasy Books, from author to authority. If you found value in today's episode, I'd be grateful if you could leave us a review. It helps other aspiring authors discover our podcast. To learn more about writing, publishing, and leveraging your business book, visit my website at easypeasybooks.com.